threw it into the lake, and preventing the erasure of the full shot seed language in the history of the Lao people.
Thank you very much, Will. While we're working on these Zoom issues, we'll move to what's on my mind. This is something we started a couple of months ago for people to share if they like what's top of mind to them, or to address this prompt, optional prompt. This month, it's what is something special that I want to preserve about our shared lives on Vashon-Maury Island. And also I have cards, if anyone would like to write that down and have it read. That's another option. Yep. I'm sorry, what did you say? Yeah, absolutely. Would anyone like to say what is top of mind for them tonight? Or address this prompt of what's something you'd like to preserve about Vashon-Maury Island? No? Bobby? Please stand up and speak so people can. So what? Neighborly love. Oh, thank you, Bobby. Would anyone else like to share with a couple of mind? Yeah, oh, the second one Tavi said about neighborly love. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I want to serve and protect our neighbors, the seals and sea lions around the park.
Thank you, Jim. Is it? The floor is open. We've got some time set aside for this, doubly so. We're struggling with the room. Thanks, Jim.
I'd like to preserve how engaged this community is, both local and the far issues that they care about. I feel like we're, on average, more engaged than a lot of communities in the from that.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, please, Julie. Thank you. Kevin? Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Something you're grateful for, would like to preserve. In all seriousness, Kevin, what is something you're grateful for and would like to preserve about our shared lives together? Anybody else?
Just joined the brass band. Been engaged for the last year and a half, and I feel like we're preserving a tradition that goes all the way back to the Slavic bands that used to be on Maury Island back in the day. And it just came out for Tuesday a few days ago, and keep marching around. Tubas, trombones, saxophones. When my wife came out and heard them practicing in the village green, she started to cry because she said, "It reminds me of old fashioned." And so
Thank you, Will. I hope to hear you soon.
I just that individual that
was supposed to be like blowing our horn for a little bit. You know, I do feel like. No, we
Please give them back.
put a screen on it. I have a, really like.
Anyone else have something you'd like to say? No. I think since we're still struggling with technology and we don't have a quorum of yet, Alex, if you're willing to give your presentation or, yeah, with me? Nicole, you're going to be able to display Alex's PowerPoint. This is Alex Craighead, Executive Director of Journeyman and Island Villages.
One village.
One village. I'm trying not to offer speak for us tonight for our community partner organization. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I just stand here, I don't know. if the
Wherever you're
camera-
most comfortable, I don't, cameras.
Okay, cool. Just wait for tech to figure, but while we get this slideshow set up, I'm curious, how many people here have heard of Journeyman? All right, quite a few of them. How many people here have heard of One Village? Okay, glad I'm here. So my name's Alex. I'm gonna try and cover a lot in 15 minutes. Is it possible to zoom in on one slide? So that we're multitasking? So my name's Alex Craighead. I grew up on Vashon-Maury and left as soon as I could after high school. But made my way back in 2016. And over the course of my adult life, I've been a teacher and an educator. And about 10 years ago, I noticed myself distracted. I wonder if it's easier to just not do the slideshow. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I'll just kind of rip. We can keep it. Thank you. So about 10 years ago, I was working at a youth detention facility in Cisco, and it was a co-ed facility, but it was for high school students in incarceration. And at that time, it was a 90% population of boys at that school. And around that same time, there was a string of youth suicides on Vashon. Many of them were young men from our community. And a couple of the closest women in my life shared their stories of sexual assault. And around that time, I started connecting the dots of what I was seeing at school, what I was seeing here on Vashon, where I grew up, and what I was seeing in school shootings, almost 98% young men. And hate crime, same thing, 90+% by men. And I started to, and my friend and I started to connect the dots and seeing some of the challenges that men and women were facing in our culture and causing a lot of harm. So we decided to go upstream and start working with boys and young men and helping them connect with their hearts and find a purpose in life and support them with love and community that will also hold them accountable. And so 10 years ago, we started Journeyman on Vashon, and we do mentorship and rites of passage in the community. Because if you can see this, if you want to hit the next slide, the second quote here, it says, if we do not initiate our young, they'll burn down the village to feel peace. And rites of passage and initiatory experiences to help us become of age into the healthy adulthood have been common around the world for thousands of years. But Western culture, particularly in the United States, we've lost our tradition. We left our motherland, many of us, and we've forgotten any kind of ritual or tradition around how to initiate young people into healthy adulthood. So we have a collective society stuck in adolescent psychology, with narcissistic behavior, with me-focused worldview, rather than service-oriented and community-oriented worldview, and generative and being of service. So we started Journeyman, and if you want to hit the next slide, I'm hoping this works. If the video, we'll see tech, as we know. I heard someone in the back row say, there's always an issue with tech. I couldn't agree more. As we are seeing here tonight. In many ways, it's all good. I'll keep going past the video. That's not going to work. So yeah, we work with Chappaqua and Murray at high school, we do circles every week. Oh, nice. Oh, there's hope. Nice, you're in. And if the video doesn't work, that's okay. But if you want to stay on the next slide. Yeah, that's perfect. And I think it'll 15, I don't know if that's possible. But yeah, so we're at schools doing weekly mentoring groups. What does that look like? We sit in circles, so it's group mentorship, not one-on-one, but we talk about everything from mental health, death and loss, boundaries, consent, healthy relationships, addiction, accountability. And we play games together, we check in and talk about our lives, and then we dive into these different themes and try to support these boys and young men in finding their values and exploring some topics that unfortunately our society doesn't prioritize in school. Because we only focus on academic achievement and forget about the heart. So that's a big part of our work. And about 5 years ago, we started what we call One Village, because boys aren't the only ones that need support from coming of age right now, right? But we started that to try and put out a fire and address an issue in our community and in this culture. But girls and non-binary students, all young people, are coming of age in a sick culture and at a time that's really hard to be a young person today. 70% of young people don't feel hope for the future. Is the last stat I heard. That was shortly after COVID, 70%. So we started One Village to zoom out and focus on youth well-being, not just boys. And so One Village, we focus on working with schools and youth serving organizations. So rather than working with individual students or individual families, we work with youth serving organizations to help them empower their young people, to support them in creating culture of belonging, where all students feel like they're welcome there, their voices are heard, their hearts are seen and honored. And so we do that through camps. How many of you have heard of Camp Waskowitz for the fifth graders graduating from Chappaqua? They used to go, it's like tradition of 30 years or more. We run that. So it's no longer at Camp Waskowitz, it's at Camp Self in One Village. Facilitates the whole thing. So we partner with Chappaqua. We do exploratory week for 8th graders. We work with the high school doing trainings and leadership training for students and staff there. And if you want to hit the next slide, one of the things that we see is like when we give students, young people, a place to belong and be seen and heard and honored, everything changes in their life. Their mental health, their resilience, their behavior and relationships are all improved. And also they step into leadership and find their purpose. So many of the suicides I feel like are young guys that are losing their way, turning to addiction, turning to just video games and stuck in their parents' face because they don't feel like they have purpose or a fire to live. If you want to hit the next slide, you'll see just a couple quotes. Our quest is our young men rite passage. 10 days in the wilderness, to say it's the most profound experience I've ever had in my entire life. 88% reported improved confidence, 75% emotionally aware, and 100% saying they have a better sense of who they are as a person after our experiences. If you want to hit next. But what we found was journeymen, there was a lot of red tape in public institutions to work with boys. Well, what about our girls? What about our non-binary students? So it's really hard to get contracts and opportunities to work with students in public education. And through One Village, everything opened up. As soon as we started working with young people and doing these same types of experiences for all young people, principals said yes, teachers said yes, superintendents said yes. And so now this year alone, we reached over almost 500 students through our experiences, 115 educators. That formatting is weird. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, 115 educators doing our training and workshops and retreats. And this year represents a big transition. If you hit next slide, we have a beautiful partnership that's been budding over the last 3 years with O'Day High School in Seattle, all boys high school. And this year represents the first time that our curriculum that we've been designing for a decade is actually shared with a school, and they're running it on their own now. 500 students every week having conversations about these topics that we've talked about here tonight. And we used to always run our group. We go into schools in Seattle, film the back off, and we run those groups every week. This year, we've got student leaders and high school teachers running these groups through journeyman curriculum that we've been designing for a decade. So we reach 500 youth every week doing those practices of sitting in council, having heart-centered conversations. This year alone, if you hit next slide, we've reached over 1,000 people over 1,000 young people and almost 200 educators here on Vashon, in Tacoma, in Seattle, and around Puget Sound. Most people on Vashon aren't aware of all that we do because we do so much. We're too busy doing it to talk about it as much. So we're trying to get better about getting out here and telling the community about what we do and the important work we're trying to grow in this region and beyond. This year, we've doubled our impact through things like curriculum and some of our bigger offerings. And so our 10-year goal is to reach 100,000 young people, 10,000 educators in the Northwest and beyond, because the issues are great. And we believe that when we center youth well-being, the entire community starts to thrive. And if we as the adults aren't prioritizing young people, then I believe we've lost our way. So I wanted to just hit the next slide and just share if this speaks to you at all, if you care about young people and feel even a thread of resonance with what I've shared tonight, would love your support. A couple ideas of how the community council could support youth well-being on Vashon. One is to make references. A lot of people don't know what we do and who we offer. We have experiences for boys in elementary, middle school, high school, youth of all genders for high school leadership training. We have a lot of opportunities to get engaged, for youth to be mentors, for youth to become leaders within the community here and off island. So refer families and young people, that would be really helpful. It's hard to get the word out to some people. To connect us with people that you feel like might be interested in growing this work, whether that's educators, faith groups, preventative health prevention, you name it. And then lastly, if the community council feels inspired by our efforts and wants to endorse this work or write a letter on our behalf, all of this is helpful. It's really hard to fund nonprofits. It's really hard to do this kind of work without financial support, community support, relational support, because it's all word of mouth and relationship based. How we've grown this from a few kids our first year just on Vashon to now a regional movement of thousands of people in California. So I just want to say thank you all for being engaged community members that come to something like this and for beginning to commit to the country. I appreciate it.
If you'd like to answer any questions people have,
Oh, I would want to donate.
The website, if you hit the next slide, is journeyman.us. I also have a card at my card, but the donation page is right on the home page of the website. I also take cash. Yeah, I think I'd be happy to connect, but yeah, the donation page on the website is back.
So, we just started something here from pressure, but I'd be willing to, match up to $500.
What was your name?
It still is. Yes.
Thank you for that generous offer. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Julie?
100? We got 100.
Great.
Anybody, any other takers? No problem. But any questions while we think about giving? Yes, Will. Will was my substitute teacher when I was a little punk before I turned corner. Maybe you're the reason why I turned it around.
Well, it's a perfect segue, because when I was studying at McMurray, there were young men who I had to send to the office. And they'd get sent right back to me. And then several years later, I see they turn tournament, and they've lost them into, respectable young women. I mean, there's one, leave the name out, but, I was really surprised one day when I saw you guys on the ferry, and I saw that one kid I was always sending to the office, and he had become a kid.
It's possible. It's all, I didn't used to be. I used to get in a lot of trouble all the time. But Miss Wilson, she was an island legend. She generally, Jerkins changed my life. And so people that invest in young people can change lives. And it's a young person, I didn't have the stat, but a young person that slips through the cracks and gets into addiction or mental health challenges or incarceration costs society on average $3 million per kid. That slips through the cracks, lost wages and the preventative stuff that they have to navigate and incarceration. So if we invest in our young people, it saves society money, we're all going to thrive. Yes. Yeah, we've been at 501c3 for the last 10 years. Yeah, this is our 10-year anniversary. I didn't bring printouts tonight, but if people are interested, I can send our impact report of this past year. We can kind of get a better sense of what we do. But
Yeah, I would say, first of all, I'm very happy with what you're doing. And I think that maybe the first year that you were on the list of potential leaders, my wife and leaders, well, we weren't quite sure exactly what you were doing. Were you church related, and was this anti-feminist kind of thing? Or just what was it? And we went on.
yeah,
So we're glad to know that.
yeah.
But one of my questions is, if you encounter that, this looks like a church organization, or this looks like an organization that's anti-women or something.
Yeah, good question. I'll speak about the women's thread first. So many people when we started this, well, what about the girls? Why just what about the girls? So I impulse was to get defensive, but took a breath and I remembered that they just care about the girls too. And so eventually enough people had asked us that question that I invited all of them, over 20 people, to a pop-up. And we circled up and we told them, I said, this is what we all have in common. Every one of you have asked for about the girls. And I am a 28-year-old man at the time. I was like, I don't feel like I have the lived experience or the skill sets to initiate young women and for girls into becoming women. That's not my role in the community. I've never done it before. I can't speak about what it's like to be a girl in our culture. But if you all want to bring that to life, we'll share our bylaws or applications for nonprofit status. We'll share how we run our circles. We trained them and they became sisterhood and they started girls mentoring groups on the island. It now got absorbed by Dove, and so they run it through Dove, but that still happens. So that was one of the things that came through our work and our efforts in the community. And then as it pertains to faith-based, we are non-denominational. I grew up in a Christian household, and I believe there's spiritual influence in the work that we do, particularly our rites of passage stuff in nature. But we're not prescriptive. We let young people explore where they find a source of strength, whether that's through nature or God or their family and ancestors. But we're not telling them what to believe. We're just helping them find it within their hearts.
Well, in that respect, it's impressive that you're with O'Day High School.
Thank you. That's a big win. Yeah. Very good. Totally. Yeah. Catholic school and all boys school and very jock kind of culture. I'll let you connect with that. So what that could be like, but I'm grateful that we're there. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thanks, Will, for your story. I'm gonna up the ante $50 that we do. Your first match. And how old were you when you came back to the island?
27 years old.
27.
Yeah.
I left a lot of friends that did that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27.
Okay. But I found that it was helpful for the ones that returned to leave for a little bit.
Right.
Not necessary, but it's really helpful.
And Nick, you still with you?
No, he actually has just stepped into executive director. So I was co-founder 10 years ago, and last month I became the executive director. My best friend and I co-founded it, but he's now working at Nintendo.
Alex, as you were saying, these are strange times for young people and for all of us, for that matter. So apart from encouraging their involvement in Journeyman or the sister organization, are there suggestions you could give us for being supportive for young people who are struggling in these days?
Yeah, I would just say, anytime we've heard the saying, it takes a village. We can all get engaged. We don't need to have kids. I personally don't have kids yet. I hope to one day, but I get involved with youth, right? Like you can find a neighbor's kid or maybe a family friend who has a nephew or a niece and just be curious, go for a walk, take them out to a meal, ask them about life. I think relationships, there's a book that I read recently that said the number one indicator of longevity of our lives and our health is the quality and depth of our relationships. So I think the number one thing we can do is build relationships with young people and be a trusted, non-judgmental presence in our life that isn't just going to give them advice of how they should live their life, but really loving and unconditional support and a space where they can talk about what their challenges are. They aren't as scary as they seem. I feel like you probably see them around town, they're wearing their baggy pants and their all black outfits, and they might look intimidating teenagers, but they're all sweethearted young people just finding their way. So yeah, I'd say getting and inviting them to screen and tech things, whether that's, camping or time around a fire or a walk in one of those beautiful parks that you mentioned, my favorite Shingle. But yeah, time in nature and off our phones too.
I'll contribute 20.
I think we're at 170. Ooh, is that not right? 50, 100. No.
Okay, I'll do 22. 20 as well.
If you gave 30, we'd be at a clean 200.
I know. Well, but I, but that. There's $10 down here.
I will say too, I have a few business cards, so if anybody does feel called to grab a coffee or talk more about how we grow this work, I think we welcome that. Also, I have some flyers for our camps. And so if you have a nephew or a neighbor or anybody, a young man or a boy, we have lots of fun camp and transformational camps, and we never say no. So across our 10 years, it doesn't matter if they can pay or not, we always say yes if the young person wants to do our experience, no matter what. Not a good business model, but that's not why we do it.
And Alex, well, Jill and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. We'll contribute $100 since Dennis is so kind of match tonight.
Wow. Thank you. 50? Okay, now my math is starting to think. Okay, so you
can try this, Dennis.
we were at 190 plus 100 is 290 plus 50 is 340.
So now 340.
25.
25.
Okay, keep going.
20.
15, 420,
435. 20. 85 plus 50 is 435.
20.
455. Yeah, 455.
More going that way.
I did not expect this, you guys are very kind.
I'm gonna have to go out to the bank machine. I'm not kidding.
Thank you all, it sounds like, is there any other questions? I know it's a lot that we're doing. Does anybody know what we mean when we say rights to pass, or do y'all know what we mean when we say rights to pass? Sometimes I feel like it's not understood, so it's come to, okay.
Or a mix of what the.
Yeah, like the marking and the celebration of the transition, in life, or the death, or marriage.
Have the,
Totally.
yeah, they were a whole, but the Catholic white people, big Catholic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our mentor, he's Australian and he's been doing this for 30 years, he's the ER doctor, and he saw almost all the people that were coming into the ER were either grown men with issues that they hadn't dealt with from their adolescence, or adolescents that were, drunk driving accidents, fights, and overdoses, and he started his rights to passage since people were doing that because of that. He did it for 30 years. So we've flown out to Australia multiple times to learn from him. He came here. He helped us do our very first father-son camp. So it's happening around the world. The good work continues. So thank you guys for donating and listening. To our work. Yeah, appreciate it.
Oh, well, it seems we have Zoom working. Yay! Really thrilled about that. Thank you, Nicole, for your diligent work in getting that together. Welcome all you people on Zoom. Sorry for the frustration getting connected, but we try and land on our feet as best we can. I'm glad you're here tonight. Is the recording, AI summarization, and closed captioning working? Oh, thank you. This meeting's being video recorded and will be publicly available on VMCC's YouTube channel. Call the meeting to order. We'll move. We've got the what's on my mind. Zoom people, I'm sorry if you missed out on that, but there'll be another one next month. And we'll move to the determination of the quorum. So the quorum is for 25 voting council members minimum. If you're a member, you signed up and Debbie Jackson sent you a welcome email. So now we simply need people to indicate that they're present and that they are members. If you're in the room please raise your hand and keep it up. And if you're on Zoom, please use the react button to raise your hand.
Fifteen. 15 person.
Is Will? Will?
Yeah, I know it. What did you get?
15 in person.
I got more. Raise your hand.
Right. So if we were members last year, Bill, yeah. Will.
And Jason.
I got 17. Thank you. And how many do we have on?
I just had
How many do we
10,
have
I
on?
guess it's
9, 10, 10, 11, 48. We have a quorum. Thank you, everybody. That's fantastic. I meant to comment, like, how important it is here tonight. It might not seem to have like that big a deal, but the way that we preserve our rights is by exercising them. And tonight in our modest action, we're exercising and protecting our rights of freedom of assembly and freedom of speech and even freedom of conscience. And in this time, we cannot take those for granted. So we're making a meaningful contribution to furthering what this country was founded on and what we in future generations depend upon for our civil liberties. I want to thank you for this. Is Jen on Zoom? Yeah, let's see the list here.
I'm here, JC.
Okay, thank you. Jen Rockvick is our secretary. Hi, Jen. And she is taking minutes tonight from afar. This is Kavi Rana. And Kavi, she's our most recent board member, and Kavi is helping count votes, as you saw. I'd ask the other board members to introduce yourself, please, Doug.
I'm Doug Osborne, I'm on the board.
Nicole.
Nicole, yeah.
I'm JC Graham. Jen, would you like to say a word?
Just that I'm glad to be here and hi from Oregon.
Thank you. Do we have other board members on
I'm
Zoom?
here, Ann Thorne, I'm the treasurer.
Hi, Ann.
Hello,
Ann is
everybody.
the treasurer.
I also had trouble getting in, so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're with us, Jen. Is that it, Nicole? Could you maximize the list of Zoom attendees, please? Thank you. Would you mind texting Jessica and or to try and connect to Zoom again, please? Her corresponding secretary is Jessica Anakar, and I'm trying to get in touch with her since there was Zoom trouble. I'll give a brief technical overview for Zoom and in-person meeting attendees. One insight I've had since last meeting is that we can better use our personal technology, I think, for communication purposes and to most advantage. Some people have trouble hearing, some people have trouble seeing the screen, but most people these days have their personal devices. You can connect to the Zoom meeting now that it's working if you want, to turn up the volume on your phone. You can zoom in, you can get to the agenda, zoom in, or whatever. And so this is something we'll be trying out, but I encourage you to experiment if you're having issues like that. We're also mics, which helps the people on Zoom to hear better. And I'll try to remember to use this, and there are some that are available to you too. You're going to speak, yes? Oh.
I'm here.
okay.
May I speak now?
Turn it
Is
off.
that,
Yeah,
will it come
please.
back? I just switched it. Was that, did someone speak to me?
Okay, this should be better. We have multiple mics going, which is a good idea.
Here's the meeting, John.
We use the democratic rules of order, and the summary of flow chart can be found at a link that's in the agenda that was sent out. We also have copies on the back table there if you want to reference them.
Casey.
Yes.
Who in the speaker?
Yeah, I'm using this too.
8901.
Is using this mic creating a problem? Please raise your hand to speak to a motion or participate in open discussion, and lower your hand after you've been recognized or no longer wish to speak. The first time you're recognized to speak, please identify yourself by names. Now, for Zoom attendees, if you've signed in with anything other than your first and last name, please change it. If you're participating remotely, sign on with the phone or the computer, but not both. Stay muted unless you're speaking on Zoom, so we know who you are. Please be advised that questions on chat may not be answered. If someone wishes to take the task of speaking for the person chatting, they're welcome to do that. We've already had land acknowledgement. Thank you, Reverend Will Went. I'll move on to some rules of conduct. The council is committed to conducting its meetings in a civil, respectful, and courteous manner. We expect all participants to demonstrate common courtesy and respect toward fellow islanders and guests. As we continue to build our new council, we are dedicated to creating a safe and healing space to address our shared interests. Rudeness, personal criticism, and ridicule, including in online chat contributions, are not acceptable and will not be tolerated. Please keep your remarks focused on the issues, not on individuals. Only members can vote. As I mentioned before, if you recently joined, you'll know your membership has been processed if you've received a welcome email from Debbie Jackson. Thanks for handling that, Debbie. You practice good faith voting. This means that you're trusted to vote and make motions and second motions only if you are a VMCC member. So please, let's have a show of hands to demonstrate the intent to honor good faith voting and the rules of conduct. You can raise your hand on Zoom too, if you'll be so kind. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to finalize the meetings of the previous council meeting of January 15th, 2026. Jan, would you please go over the highlights of that meeting?
Yes, so we had two motions that were presented. If you could scroll down, they will be voted on, or the next step will be taken today. So we, I guess just going in order of this new business section. This is really tiny. So we passed the motion to adopt a resolution supporting VIDART, so kind of emergency services by airplane in the event of a local emergency. And then we have two motions that were passed or were proposed at the last meeting. One is to address flock automated license plate readers and surveillance. And the other one is addressing illegal deportation flights through King County International Airport. So we'll have follow-up for those at today's meeting.
Thank you, Jen. These minutes were sent out ahead of time for review. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes? Moved, is there a second? Stan moved, I seconded. Are there any corrections to the minutes or discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving these minutes, please raise your hand. I don't need to vote. I've only case I vote in is if there's a tie with 3. So 17, and can we see the voting on Zoom? I think you might have to, oh, there we are, 9 to 26 or 16, but it was 17, 9:26. Okay, all those opposed? Jerry, have you failed to lower your hand or are you voting opposed? Oh, okay. I don't see any opposed. So if the motion to adopt this passes, then we'll move on to finalize the agenda of this council meeting. Would you do a similar overview, please, Jen?
So are you wanting to finalize the agenda as proposed, the initial agenda first? Without changes?
Why don't you do it, first of all, describe the main things as it was originally and then the changes that were recently made.
Okay, the main topics for this are the presentation on the journeyman, which we've already seen. The follow-up on the 2 agenda items that we mentioned before for the letter to the King County Sheriff's Office regarding flock and urging King County to end deportation flights at Boeing Field. And then we have, I guess we'll wait for, we have some edits to the new business, but we'll wait for the next vote.
Go ahead and highlight those, please.
So let me see if I can get the correct version up here. So we have an additional old business, which is updates on the North End Park and Ride by the ferry terminal. Laura Chervin has some an update on work that she's been doing with the county. And then for new business, we have 2 new motions that we know of, and I think a third topic to cover. We have a motion by Joe Yarkin that he plans to make on protecting marine mammals. And it's related to Washington state legislation, a motion that's against nuclear power in Washington state that Kevin Jones will present. And then I believe Sri would like to add another item to the agenda about funding for school lunches and school meals for Vashon students.
Thank you, Jen. Julie?
Julie Brown, I move to amend the agenda this evening to withdraw the motion on King County International Flights. I can speak very briefly and get to the context, but at this point we are asking to postpone that for that final discussion today and vote on that until the April meeting.
Those are 2 options. You can remove it from the agenda. You can wait till it comes up and then move to postpone it. They have the same effect. Which would you prefer to do?
Then I'll wait.
Okay, thank you. Another item we have tonight is to approve the election of Ike Harmon to the board of directors. And I've noted that that's on the agenda also. Are there any questions or suggestions for a revision of the agenda? Is there a motion to adopt it? Someone please move to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
To that.
There was a second. Srilakshmi seconded. Thank you.
Could you say back to me the first and second, please, JC?
Ike moved it and Srilakshmi seconded.
Thank you.
Any discussion or other revisions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. You vote. And 26 in favor. You can put down your hands now. Thank you. All those opposed? You see no one opposed? None opposed? And the motion to adopt this agenda passes. Thank you. Introduction of rules of procedure. I'll keep this brief and just note that because of the technical difficulties, we're running a bit short on time. So I invite everyone to work with us to try and conclude the meeting at 9 o'clock. By the democratic rules of order, motions and amendments are made in sequence. There are no amendments to amendments. We just consider each amendment in turn. If you're a member and you think something isn't right, you can rise to a point of order and we'll deal with it. The council is the final arbiter of points of order, though I will make an initial determination. If you're a visitor, you can rise to a point of information for ask a question or for clarification, and you're also welcome to participate in the discussion. Any questions? Very well, we'll move on to approve Ike Harmon's election to board of directors. This is an interesting thing that by the bylaws, we're supposed to have ideally 12 board members. The first 8 are elected both by the board and by the council. After the first 8, the board has the authority to appoint the remaining 4 board members to fill needs that they see. It doesn't strictly require a council vote for those remaining 4. The board did elect Ike Harmon. I'm happy to inform you, but in the spirit of collaboration and wanting everyone to be on the same page and to have occasion to introduce Ike to you and have you ask him any questions, we're going to be asking tonight for the council to approve Ike's election to the board to the board. So if you have any reservations, you would have an opportunity to articulate those or whatever else you might want to say. So I'll ask Ike to introduce yourself and say a few words about who you are, how long you've been on the island, what your life and why you would like to serve in this capacity.
Okay, well, I'm Mike Harmon. I first came here in 85. And sit down. Yeah, and like Alex, got recruited away for a while when I was off island some time. But a lot like the salmon, I had to get back. And I did everything necessary to get back. And that was in 2000. So I've been here for 26 years since. I have been very torn from the time that I've been back and seeing all a lot of changes that have disturbed me about the island. New things and all sorts of new things. And part of this, I think, is just being old. And part of it, I think, is as an educator, environmental educator for many years, seeing the kind of changes that Alex has been dealing with that I didn't have the tools to or the time, other responsibilities. I'm very gratified at what you're doing. Yeah, that's why I wanted to be on the council, because I'm hoping to, I guess with time, as I got older, I got kind of a bad attitude about it, about my society, about what I'd seen happening on an island, and not altogether in favor of a lot of things that I've seen.
That attitude doesn't take you very far. And I've been a songwriter my whole life, and I've always tried to write songs that were, and positive. And I realized that I needed to reemerge and re-educate myself. Turn the clock back and rediscover what got me into teaching in the first place. I'm glad I did, and I'm very gratified. It was JC who really turned me on to coming in. I really love what he's been doing, trying to do with the council. I don't know what I can contribute other than just be here all the time. Support JC and his vision, and Nicole and everybody else on the council. But things, put the agenda together and make this thing go. Glad you're here. You let me say.
Are there any questions? You have a flag tonight? Yeah.
What kind of environmental work did you do? Teaching, said.
I got recruited to, first of all, establish one of the first talented gifted programs in the state of Ohio. So this was back 89, 88, 88. And I was on the state of Iowa oversight board for talented gifted education. And I started a K-12 program that then got defunded. Fortunately, in going out in the community and doing presentations in support of the TAG program, a gentleman showed up who had co-founded a program associated with what is still called the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation, the Land Conservancy. It was called Trees Forever. He said that they were looking for an statewide educational outreach person. And what they did is they got matching funds, 1% of the state electrical commission, electricity, the power company, set aside 1% for conservation. And this Trees Forever program got a big chunk of that. And we ended up planting tens of thousands of trees all over Iowa because Jonesy,
Yeah.
you know those old towns? In the old days, you drive down the street, and there were like big cathedrals, trees under what base light, and they met at the top. And they kept those towns cool in the summer. And when all those trees died, then air conditioning consumption went. So the whole idea was to get that electricity use back down and repopulate all these towns with trees. And so my job was to go out and develop a program, which in almost all schools, tree planting, tree care, follow up, and presented to town councils and community groups, schools, hundreds of presentations. It was the best work I ever did. And, I moved back here, get back to Diamond, I couldn't take another job.
Well, in the population there, the farmers, were they accepting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they were. When you talk to them as partners, you know, you're not going in to like say both for them, but you're going in to help empower them and help them visualize what their community can look like, and that we're here to help them. And you get buy-in when you respect people, right? So no, it was very successful. Thousands of.
Are there questions on Zoom? Anybody on Zoom? Yes. Saw some hand. Ginny?
Thank you. If I understood what you said in your introduction, you said there were some changes on the island that you weren't very comfortable with. Could you explain, give me an example of one? If I understood that correctly?
Yeah, you understood it. It's tough. Well, boy. Just as a general sense of things, when cell phones first became ubiquitous on the island, I was commuting to Seattle on what we called the tuna boat back in those days. And when I leave my job in downtown Seattle and come down to the ferry dock, and I'd see all the people I took the boat with, and everybody would be sitting reading books and talking with each other about the island. Or, well, we're so glad to get out of the city. It's another day. We made it another day, and now we're going home. And I was even during that time working on a novel about the island. And the proliferation of cell phones made all the different kinds of communication that I had known and loved about the island change almost overnight.
Yeah.
And where you would see people talking with each other, they were talking on their phones.
Yeah.
And on the ferry home, instead of chatting with each other, getting caught up in each other's lives, everybody was talking on their phones and talking about the most lurid things a lot of the time that you didn't want to know. And so it changed the quality of the island. And I got a real bad attitude about it. Because what I loved when I first came here was it was so intimate. It was just intimate. You ran into people in the store and you talked to them, and that still happens. But when the cell phones first came, the first 15 years, from 2000 to 2015, it's taken that long for people to recover and get back to where it was kind of almost like it was when I first came here. But I still see people walking around and they're staring at their phones instead of looking up and around and noticing them. That's the biggest thing I can think of, and it's griped me profoundly. And as JC knows, since I've moaned and groaned a lot about it to him, but that's why I really want to get involved with this, because this is the antithesis. Where you're talking and listening to each other and in the same shared moment. And if there's any hope for us, the work that you're doing, being in the same shared moment, that's what we need. We need to hang on to. That's the best part.
Thank you.
Anyway, long answer. I'm sorry. I feel really deeply about it. And that's what I'm hearing.
Thank you. Are there other questions, right? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Ike's election to the board? Diane? Is there a second? Jimmy is seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And 16 plus 8, 24, all those opposed? You see any opposed? Please.
Maybe double his pay.
None opposed?
Yeah.
So the motion passes. Congratulations.
Point of order, JC, how many for?
Jen,
How many for?
24.
24 and no opposed?
That's correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
24 4. Is that clear?
24 for?
24 people voted yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
We'll move to old business since Alex already gave the presentation. Thanks again, Alex. The first item is a discussion and decision tonight to send a letter to the King County Sheriff's Office copying certain other governmental offices regarding flock automated license plate readers and surveillance. Nicole, would you like to read the motion, please?
Yes. So, I read the letter and I put in the motion at the last meeting, and motion is public safety systems are commonly understood as relying on human judgment, situational awareness, and accountability in responding to danger. In every basic occurrence, intervention is expected to occur when harmful behavior is observed or when a credible threat is present. and to be tailored to restoring safety rather than imposing generalized control. These shared expectations form the framework through which public safety actions are evaluated and justified. The legitimacy of public safety action is directly reliant upon observable harm or an imminent and demonstrable threat thereof, along with the expectation that responses are exercised with fairness and restraint. This framework, while not always reflected uniformly in practice, has long served as the basis on which public safety measures are explained, defended, and accepted within society. Automated surveillance technologies, including automated license plate reader systems, operate differently by collecting and retaining data continuously and without individualized calls. These systems initiate monitoring in advance and observe harm and shift assessment away from direct human observation. Ordinary movement through public space becomes a source of data and potential scrutiny rather than a neutral aspect of daily life. Over time, the normalization of such systems contributes to broader surveillance practices that raise concerns about proportionality, transparency, accountability, and the concentration of power, particularly in small communities where trust and consent are essential to public safety. And I'm guessing everyone has had a chance to read the letter. Hopefully.
Are there any questions for Nicole? Nicole is reading this, and this resolution is originated from the Technology Watch and Response Committee, which she is chair, secretary. I read it last time. Paul's read it this time. That she's able to answer any questions you might have before we move to a full discussion. It's been moved and seconded already at the last meeting, so that's not necessary. Are there any questions?
I just,
Yeah, Joe.
so the motion is to not allow these surveillance devices, which I'm not aware of what they are. Yes, but some kind of license plate readers. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess my only question would be, what would be the opposing side? Why would someone support that? I mean,
Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, my position is that, we do not like surveillance technologies at all.
right,
So,
it's hard to read. Okay, I'm just wondering what the argument for them are.
Well, the little
From King County.
context, this is a national phenomenon where this company Flock, and it's the main one, there are other such companies, are installing these license plate readers, often in conjunction with local police, and then they're collecting all this data and aggregating the data and selling it to other customers. It's not just for tracking. I mean, the argument against it would be like, well, ICE would say we need it to help track down illegal aliens who should be in the country, for instance. And to do that, we need to track everybody's movements so we can figure out who's who and sort it all out. That would be an argument. Other people, feel like, well, that's overreach. This isn't just for public safety, and we shouldn't have these things. And furthermore, sometimes when the people speak out and then the police become convinced and ask Flock to remove it, they won't even remove the cameras at that point. And there's this whole back and forth about putting little hoods over them and until they can try and get them removed. The Flock is then saying, will you let us install them in their private property? So we have this infrastructure now that we have good purposes for it. So this is generally to express to King County Sheriff and others that we do not want such license plate readers here. Yeah, Mike?
I understand from a thing on NPR the other day that Washington State Legislature is also pressing this issue. So you might add our elected representatives to that.
Yes, they are. I believe they're on that. So maybe not by name, but it refers to our other relevant office. So Well, I'll look forward to discussion or questions for that matter. And I want to keep an eye on Zoom as well. So raise your hand on Zoom if there's something you'd like to say about this or in the room. Oh, rock tree, yes, please go ahead.
If you can hear me okay, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Can't really hear you, unfortunately. Can you turn your volume up?
Okay, is that better? Now can you hear me?
That's much better, thank you.
Okay. So I heard that another use of them is to track people's cars when they get a new car and they fall behind in their payments, and then someone, I don't know how this tech works, but the information goes out to people who repossess cars. So that's another thing. That's all.
There's another use for it. Are there other comments or questions or discussion? Yes, Jen.
Yeah, I've read news reports that it's also been used to track people who may have had an abortion. So if they cross state lines and are found going to a state where abortion is aligned and they're pregnant and they come back not pregnant, that's used in states where abortion is illegal.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Jen. You see, Joe, there are lots of them. Is there other discussion? Yes.
My name is Jen Huntley. I'm just visiting here. I fully support this. I'm not a voting member, but I think this is a really good idea. I would also, it makes me think that this is just one of many potential data harvesting and surveillance kinds of technologies that are coming down the pipeline. And I have thought recently about the idea of creating some kind of a technological Hippocratic oath in which companies that are responsible for technological innovation, that there's some way of prioritizing the human for the drive for profits. And I just want to throw that out there. That may be something to think about, this becoming the seed of a maybe larger thing that the community thinks about, creating that kind of some kind of a definition of what is more important here on Vashon than somebody's profit-driven technological advances. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you very much, Jen. Are there other discussion? Yes, Kevin.
I'll just say appreciate the committee who addressed this issue, and for Nicole for putting together this motion and bringing it to our attention.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there further discussion? Yes, Laura?
Just for people who want to do this, can we offer them an advantage in not doing it? And that would be financial. You don't need to invest tax money in this technology. You know, look, we'll still have that money for something else. Excellent. Appeal to their reason.
Thank you for that insight, Laura.
Appeal to their what? Reason.
Reason. See both sides.
Is there further discussion?
Yeah. I mean, they can trace everybody with their cell phones. They don't need this extra crap. And families and businesses have cameras.
Rather than just having a free-for-all discussion, I'd like to recognize anyone who wants to speak to this. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of this motion of sending a letter to the sheriff's office and county sheriff's office saying that we oppose implementation of block-like technology, please raise your hand.
Point of order.
Yes, Jen.
Have we There was a request to send it not only to the sheriff's office, but also state representatives. Have we verified that that's a part of the motion?
That's true too.
Yeah, it's in the original one. Yeah, other relevant county figure oversight offices, that's appropriate.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Sorry.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for being clear about that. Please, I wasn't able to count everybody. Would you please raise your hands?
At 16.
Okay, 16, 13, 29. Right? All 29 in favor, all opposed? None opposed. Motion passes unanimously. This is Nicole about the policy tracking. Thank you. Great work. We'll next move on to our other item of old, or one of our other items of old business, urging King County action to end immigration flights at Boeing Field. Or as it was reworded to be non-conclusive. And Julie, I understand you would either like to withdraw this motion or postpone it indefinitely, which of those would you like to do?
No, I need to postpone it, until the April 16th meeting.
Oh, I see. So you're moving to postpone it until the April 16th meeting. And would you like?
Very brief context, but
Yeah, please go ahead and explain the situation.
without getting too deeply into the discussion, this is a situation that's changed in the last couple of times, in fact, in the last 2 weeks. And so we are working with some other groups who are meeting with people, and we want to see the outcome of these meetings and possibly make some changes. But we need to make sure things are in stable enough place that we can meet. So postponing it would give other actors and the chance to catch up, and all of us share information for the good of the group.
Thank you. Any questions for Julie at this time?
So I'm hearing that this will make your proposal even stronger.
Yes.
Are there other questions, Diane?
Well, I'd like to second the motion.
Or you may certainly do that.
At the right time.
Now is the perfect time.
I'd like to second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Julie? Discussion. Motion is to postpone this motion until the April 16th meeting of the council. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Point of order. Do we need a
Yes.
second?
Diane,
Or does she have mover's advantage?
For motion postpone, it does require a second, and Diane seconded it, Diane Emerson.
And a vote.
I was unable to count. Please raise your hand in favor of this. And Cody, could you maybe raise your left hand if you're voting so I can count you, Jim? And on Zoom, is everybody voted who wants to vote? 8 on Zoom, 9 on Zoom. Yes, that's it. 24. Jen, that's 24 in favor. All those opposed? Bobby, do you see any opposed? None opposed, 24 in favor, none opposed. The motion to postpone to a certain time passes. Thank you very much, Julie. And next we'll have an update on draft safety action plan and North End Park and Ride and ferry loading signage. Jen, you want to give your announcement first, please?
Is Laura present?
She is.
I don't think I have an announcement other than whatever Laura wants to present.
Oh, is that right? I thought you had some announcement about the draft safety action plan.
Oh, I do have an announcement. I don't have the link available. I'll need to find it and I can put it in chat. Yeah, we had a meeting in, I believe, September, and the sheriff's office attended, and as did the King County Roads Division, and they took in they surveyed the public and asked people in King County where we thought that there were safety issues, and they have released their conclusions and final report, or draft report, I guess, from that input, and they're asking for additional input on that draft report. They didn't identify any intersections on Vashon Island that needed revisions, but they did use data to come up with some general concepts. So I'll post on our social media the opportunity to comment on that draft plan.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Are there any questions for Jen about that? Thanks again, Jen. And Laura, I'd like to turn it over to you to take some photographs and have an update for us regarding signage and loading procedures in the north end.
Yes. So yesterday I went and took pictures of the places that I had identified as needing upgrading. That sign is almost completely obliterated with graffiti. And the next sign, which is midway up the two parking lots by the front end, I thought looked good, so I took a picture of that. And then the next one is a picture of the sign in the upper parking lot. And then the last picture, this clearly says the drop off and pickup is supposed to be accomplished in the parking lot. The reason this all happened was because I was headed to Southwick on a Sunday, and I missed the ferry because there were 5 cars parked in front that were waiting for drop off and pickup right on 103rd there. And then there were 2 people that were going to West Seattle that were there. And then 2 of us with the last 2 cars in line were going to Southward. We missed the ferry because we can't see the green light for the Southward lane. We can't see the Southward lane. A few weeks after that, I noticed after I had brought this issue up that there was a ferry worker who was directing traffic. Another person told me that it's dangerous because if there are people waiting for drop off and pickup and people try to go around them, you're facing potential upstream traffic. The other problem with 103rd is there's a last curve you come around before the parking lot is on your left. And there have been accidents there. And according to the news from Wally Archambault, I think his name is, in the Roads Division, that accidents are to be reported to the sheriffs. In the last 4 years, there's supposed to be 1 accident reported. But I have word of mouth from people that there have been other accidents because people coming around the curve don't see the traffic parked along here. And they've run into them, you know. And so it's hard because a lot of people are handicapped and find it difficult to walk up the hill to the parking lot. So that's a problem. And the last photo that I have is of the posts that have been reinstalled on the main highway and on 103rd. There used to be 3 in each place. They got knocked down. The buses can't make that tight corner, and sometimes they hit those posts. But now there's 4 new ones on the highway and 4 new ones on 103rd. So the Roads Division is trying to deal with these issues. Is there one more picture of the posts?
These are the ones I had. I might have.
It's in another email. It's in the last. Yeah. But anyway, you'll notice that if you go to the north end, that there are 4 new yellow posts They're the kind that will bend over and disconnect if they're hit. And that's a dangerous corner, coming up. And you see traffic coming up the hill at the last minute, and making that left-hand turn is somewhat dangerous. So anyway, I just wanted to make it more efficient and clear about what was expected so that people aren't missing ferries, people don't get hit, people don't get caught flying. So I thought that was a nice improvement,
Thank you, Laura. So if I have this right,
Yeah.
as a result of our communications, your communications with them, they put in some additional signage and some posts to make it clear that people are supposed to get dropped off in the park and ride rather than down at the bottom of the hill. Is that right?
Right. Now, if there's a ferry worker that comes and directs traffic, that helps, but that they only have control of the dock. King County has control of everything up from the dock in terms of signage and rules and laws. So, yeah. So I just, I like things that are clear, and when people feel like it's safe to do something different, that's another discussion. But, yeah, I thought this was a good improvement.
Yeah, thank you, Selena.
Yeah, I'm thinking about in terms of, I think it's good to improve that system of drop off and pickup. But I'm thinking about that parking lot that often is their build spots.
Absolutely, that's
And
the other
how,
part.
like what system we should create in the parking lot so that cars could wait by the stairs, but not block people who are trying to get out of the park. If that also needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Selena. Are there other questions or discussion? Thank you for the update, Mark and Jen. We'll move on to new business. The first is a matter of protecting marine mammals and restoring ecological abundance in the Puget Sound and Salish Sea. And I'll turn forward to Joe Yarkin to introduce this matter. Make the motion.
All right.
Want to come up here?
Okay. All right, well, hello, everyone. I'm Joe Yarkin, and one of my hobbies since in the last 6 years has been open water swimming. In that time, I've gotten very acquainted with our water environments, and I usually am in there about 3 times a week for average an hour each. So it's accumulated, spent a lot of time in the water and gotten it's really changed me to some degree. Last year we became aware of bills to start culling and reducing populations of seals and sea lions. These are bills in legislature to go through, and it's in the idea is to protect salmon by culling predators, they're protected now. The seals, sea lions, whales, all the marine mammals are protected by landmark legislation, the Marine Mammal Protection Act that was set up in 1972, and populations have gone from very, very low to from endangered levels to basically a stable levels at this time in the Puget Sound of pinnipeds, which is what I'm addressing this, but the legislation also addresses seabirds. So if you like, what I'll do is I'll just read my introduction that kind of tells some of both sides, why people want it and why they don't. I don't think it's an easy, everybody says yes necessarily issue. We asked that, and I'm with a group of Vashon swimmers and kind of marine mammal enthusiasts, but not a very big group. But I think there are a lot of people that want to join it.
And save our seals.
Yeah. But that name may not stay the same. Anyway, we asked that the Maury Community Council consider the motion to oppose House Joint Memorial HJM 4004, and these are two bills, and SJM 8013. They're both actually sitting in the Senate right now. And they're currently under consideration in Washington State, and any future legislation in which there likely will be allowing large-scale pinniped killing. These memorials urge Congress to amend and in effect weaken the Marine Mammal Protection Act by easing restrictions on lethal removal of pinnipeds, including California sea lions and harbor seals, and across Washington's marine. Oh, and the new one of the bills actually includes amending the Migratory Bird Act and culling birds that eat salmon, which are mostly, I think, they're pelicans and ringneck cormorants. And that's across the whole of Washington State's marine waters. Beyond the current authorizations, and that currently they're doing some of these lethal removies on Ballard Locks and Columbia River and bottlenecks and tributaries to that, where there are sea lions that are eating large amounts of salmon because they're blocked by like fish bladders and such like that. That's been going on, I think, now for many years or something, isn't it? Like 10 years? Yeah. Right. Okay, anyway, they want to extend that. Proponents argue that these changes will give greater flexibility for the states and tribes to use adaptive management tools, including lethal takings, to reduce predation on endangered Chinook salmon and support commercial fisheries. However, environmental organizations representing a broad range of Washingtonians including groups focused on wildlife conservation, marine ecosystems, and salmon recovery, strongly contend that the underlying science does not support this approach. Studies and expert analysis show that culling pinnipeds would have negligible or no meaningful positive effect on Chinook populations, which are the endangered ones, specifically the different rivers, while diverting attention from the primary human-caused drivers of salmon decline, which are habitat loss, dams, overfishing, and pollution, and as well as some hatchery management issues that we're discovering now. So, that's kind of my introduction to the motion to kind of give some context, and of course, there's a lot more to it. Let's see. Oh, I guess here the key complicating. I'll keep reading my introduction. The key complicating factors include transient orcas already consumed, and these are the orcas that we see most of. In fact, we've had record numbers of them, the transient pods that come down. In fact, we had a big drama one day when we were trying to swim in Gold Beach when they were chasing around a sea lion that came in. It was a stellar sea lion that came and leaped on the rock rookery. And wouldn't go back in the water. And it was a mom seal and her two young, not mom seal, mom orca and her two young, and they were just coming really close and jumping up and spy hopping. They made the front page of the Beachcomber. Anyway, it turns out they did a study in 2017 where they found that the transient orcas had eaten over 1,000 harbor seals in the Puget Sound. So that's the Puget Sound being the Washington part of the Salish Sea. And we expect, since there've been more and more of these transients, that they're eating more and more of them. They also, and it's an unknown number of sea lions because they eat both. So there's already some balance going on with among the marine mammals. Seals and sea lions maintain and another factor is seals and sea lions maintain varied diets, often consuming fish species that prey on the juvenile salmon. Removing pinnipeds could disrupt the predation chain, so it's just another confounding factor that these species have been here you know, in the Puget Sound, at least the last 10,000 years since it melted and the glacier went away. And so there is balance that's been built in there. Also note that illegal killings of seals and sea lions has also been occurring around Vashon Island and other parts of the Puget Sound. There's just some, I think the seals, and for some reason, they're really seen as some people kind of scapegoat them, blame a lot of things on them, and they've been getting shot. And there's some groups that actually, when they wash up on the beach, and they don't always do that because they're not neutrally buoyant. A lot of them sink, so we don't know how many have been shot. Some of them do eventually wash up on the beach. There's some vets on the island and world vets that will take and find out what they can whenever there's a dead seal or sea lion. So if you ever see one on the beach, report it. I would say, does the sheriff know? Who would we report that to? I'm not sure. Okay, and just a last factor is that historical attempt to control apex predators around the ecosystem, such as culling wolves and other things, have come up with a lot of unintended negative consequences. And an example is like Yellowstone National Park. They let wolves back in, and the streams being rebuilt because they had some balance with all the young tree-eating deer and such that would stay away from those easy areas for the wolf. Anyway, that's kind of the introduction. The motion itself is to that the community council will send. It's written up there. How much information do you want me to read the whole thing? What's the best? It'll be just for.
Yeah, it'll be available. Why don't you characterize the gist of it? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Okay, we're trying to accomplish that. That we want to put forth a vision for our Puget Sound and our Salish Sea waters around here that is of abundance of not only salmon, but of the fish and the environment that raise them. We would like to work towards improving the sounds, like address some of the issues like pollution, water clarity. There's ideas on how to do that. And so, for example, enhancing the populations of natural filter clams and oysters, even potentially for people and the tribes to raise these for nice ecological protein source. But what they do, it's kind of amazing what the oysters and clams and like our native like gooey ducks, they're big time filters. I mean, like a full grown gooey duck filters 5 gallons a day, 5 gallons an hour. Fast when they're going. So when you've got when you've got areas where they can survive, you have cleaner water. When you have clearer water, you've got light that gets down. You get eelgrass beds. You get kelp coming back. One of the big problems, and this would affect the salmon, is that we don't have as many kelp beds, which are great places for fish to live. When you swim around the island, you see a lot. That when you have plants, even logs, docks, all the things that while like trees that fall in, all this, they create these communities that where the things can anchor on, and you get a whole diversity of marine ecology. But one of the things that makes the bottom work better is when there's a productive area. About 20% of the sound is like less than 70 feet, and it's below the tide line. And that's where you can grow kelp beds, eelgrass, everything that needs light. But in order for that to work, you need water clarity. And that's where in my opinion, that's where we should really, we can do that in ways we can come together as a community and actually help that through individual farms and group work. This motion also is to protect the marine mammals from the bills to expand and change the Marine Mammal Protection Act. And I'll just, more context is in Congress right now. There is a bill that has been presented by a congressman and it's waiting in the House in Alaska to quote, modernize the Marine Mammal Protection Act. And this would be a big disaster, in my opinion, and opinion of many environmental groups. It's a difficult sell because this is 50-year, a very successful legislation that saved a lot of species, but it's going to change the definitions of words to mean like and dangerously so. Like, for example, instead of saying you can't harass, if you're, and it's supported by oil companies and the military, but if you're, whatever you're doing right now, it can't, you can't harass marine mammals, but it changes it to you can't mortally injure them. It changes from keeping a like healthy population to maintaining like a baseline survival population. Just in other words, they want you to keep them off the Endangered Species Act, but it doesn't. It changes it drastically, and it also allows flexibility with hunting and culling of marine mammals. And the whales, I think, would be threatened as well. So that's sitting in Congress right now, you know, and it isn't. It's not a named bill yet, but there's more time.
So the two bills that we have in Washington that are going through our memorandums that are asking Congress to change the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So that's why it's so important to stop these two bills, because these two bills are saying, yes, go for it, let's change the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So if we can stop that here in Washington, we send a message that we actually don't want that to happen. And that's really important. They're already working the wording of the Marine Mammal.
And some of the news coming out in support of this is saying one thing that, you know, Washington, or that Democrats and Republicans agree on, is like amending the Marine Mammal Protection Act. And so I think it potentially could be a very destructive move. Not to mention, I am against the culling of seals and sea lions since they have a stable population. So, but I think we all agree that we do want a healthy and abundant Puget Sound. So the specific wording on here will be posted for a month. And then I think what we're going to come back next month and discuss this.
Yes, we formally move that we adopt this, please.
Oh, yeah. So I would like to propose this as a motion. Are there any seconds?
Second.
You got a second?
Who seconded it?
Copy, Rana.
Thank you.
Any questions for Joe?
Well, we have do you want this to go, we need to vote tonight, because do you want this to go during our current state legislative session?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
Well, wait, here's the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
If we can vote on something, if we delay a month, it makes it irrelevant. So that's my question. If we vote on this a month from now, will that be enough time to send a message to our state legislators about the memorandum?
Well, from what I heard, now it wasn't the 29th or no, there's a day that just passed that these bills that didn't get out of committee. These bills haven't gotten out of the committee. They're sitting in the Senate Agricultural Committee. Yeah. And I believe we've passed that day where it's going to go on to the general. It's a short session, but they'll be sitting there for next year.
Okay, so
strategically, I think what this is to try to, like, I guess is this keeps coming up every year. Apparently they've been bills like this have been coming up since 2019, but they're getting closer and they're starting to make real progress towards amending the entire Marine Mammal Protection Act. And I'm not saying we can stop that necessarily from happening by not passing these in Washington, but it seems like a good start. And I guess the goal of this motion is to educate people in our community about what's going on out there in the waters, to look into it, and so that we can be on the watch for, to kind of keep an eye on the sound and our neighbor species out there, and make sure they're not being hunted. And when the time comes, which may be next year, it may be before the long session next year when these bills hit the floor, that we'll have had time to write to all our legislators and everything. I don't think it can necessarily change anything right now. So
it's an occasion for us to go on the record and begin to mobilize. Yes.
So, I wasn't expecting to talk about this tonight, but two things that have been said, and I just want to make sure that this information, Jennifer knows far more about this than I do, but don't assume just because you raise population of filter feeders that you're going to be.
That's true.
Because if you're using them to clean toxins out of the system, then the toxins are in the shellfish. That doesn't mean that's not a good solution. But if you sell that to people because they're all going to get these things, yeah, you may be sending them down.
Right.
So number two, you're not actually saying that California sea lions are indigenous to Puget Sound.
I believe they are.
But I'm not sure that that's true.
I mean, they were killed down to a very low level, and it's hard to say, but they do. It's mostly the males that just come up here periodically exploring, from what we witnessed. But,
well, I mean, I've seen domestic on the old dam.
Yeah.
And they have made exceptions in the act to try to deal with that, but with the climate change and so forth, populations are coming north that never existed here.
Right.
Kinds of the size of population that may end up here. And I'm not sure that.
Excuse me, please. We're running out of time here, and I see a lady with her hand up. Can we speed this up, guys, please?
Sorry, point of order for Jason.
All I'm saying is, I would suggest that before this come up in a month, that you make sure you've got all the particulars of ACE.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Jen?
Just point of order, the debate is for the committee meeting where we'll have the vote.
Yes, we will discuss this fully next month. Right now, it's just time for any brief questions, but we're kind of running out of time, so I'd like to wrap this up.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much, Joe.
All right.
Do you have a second?
You said-
Oh yeah, Kavi. Kavi's the
second. Thank you very much, John,
All right.
for bringing this up.
And we'll put a sign up here for people to get notices about it if they want.
Okay, thank you. There'll be a sign up in the back. People want to get notified.
Oh yeah, and if you want a pamphlet about growing shellfish, they're in the podium, JC.
Oh, yeah.
There are pamphlets in the podium.
Yeah.
I don't
If
see
anybody
them.
in the room wants a pamphlet on growing shellfish.
Jen is point on an effort to grow shellfish. If you're interested in talking about that or investigating the possibility, please contact her at secretary.b-mcc@proton.me. I'll turn it over to Kevin Jones to make a motion on no nuclear in Washington.
Great, thanks, JC. No worries, and I appreciate clarity on the Zoom. Thanks for fixing that. There were a lot of people who were calling me about how to get in because they wanted to support your motion. So thanks for that. Yeah, my name is Kevin Jones, and one of the issues that's come up in our legislative session is a number of bills supporting nuclear energy in Washington. So I would like to move that Vashon-Maury Islanders want safe, affordable, timely, non-emitting, reliable, and sustainable energy generation and energy storage systems. The permitting and build time delays, affordability failures, and the health risks from physical plant failures and deadly radioactive waste leave nuclear energy systems failing to deliver on all but the non-emitting of those aspirations. The preferred, safe, affordable, timely, non-emitting, reliable, and sustainable energy generation systems are the same renewable energy systems available and proven today, like wind, solar, and geothermal energy. Therefore, the Vashon-Maury Community Council, through this motion passed by a majority of council members, calls upon our King County Council, our elected state and federal legislators, and our governor to reject any and all tax preferences, subsidies, policies, and legislation which support the nuclear energy industry in Washington state. Happy to take questions.
Are there any questions for Karen? Is there a second? Mike Dawson, second.
Thank you. The one thing I'll say is that one of our state legislators did sign on as the #2 sponsor of legislation that would have supported bringing nuclear energy into the state of Washington. So it's very relevant to us here on Island.
Any questions?
Would that be?
Joe Fiskett.
Excellent. Are there any other questions?
Well, it's fusion too.
It's fission, actually.
Well, yeah, that's the.
Okay, thank
fusion
you.
is becoming much more viable, and it's also nuclear.
Yeah.
Please continue the discussion after the meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. The floor is briefly open for any other motions under new business.
I have, this is Sri Lakshmi. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
Pretty well, yeah, please speak up and hear you.
Okay, so letting you know that my sister is a well-loved chef that was brought into a school district in Minneapolis, and she did so well that Tim Waltz visited her at work and gave her a whole bunch of compliments for all the wonderful things. So the thing about my sister, you know, really, she feeds all the kids, not just the undocumented kids, and she's aware that they keep track of those federal subsidies going on. And so she's protecting a student population, you know, and she would do that for any kid for any reason. And I was wondering if anybody here knew that they could track our food subsidies, and is there a way that we can fill the gap and get the kids who need subsidies a subsidized lunch from our community so we don't have to rely on federal funds, so that they can use that information to pick kids to kidnap from schools. That's all I have. I hope you understand. I'm so proud of the community, so proud of the committee that got together to do that thing about the license plate thing. And I'm hoping that we can get a group together, a committee, to do the same thing and find out what it would take to support the kids who need subsidized meals. That includes breakfast, lunch, and after school. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Lakshmi. As I understand it, just in case anybody couldn't catch that in its entirety, the federal subsidies for the school lunch program are tracked, and the assertion is that they can use those to track undocumented kids. So the idea is that if the community could somehow provide these meals, they wouldn't have to be providing this data related to the federal funding. Is that a fair characterization, Sri Lakshmi?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. You know, it's
straightforward. And she's suggesting that a study group be convened in order to figure out how to address this matter. But I will add to this that we are attempting to convene a food security committee. And that this seems to fall under that purview to me, providing the school kids with food in a secure way. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. If you'd like to be a part of this committee, even better if you'd like to be an interim chair or secretary. But I suggest this is one already, a group that's already in the works of getting it together, that this could be a high priority for. However, Lakshmi, were you intending to make a formal motion or just to
Yes, that's
convey
my formal
this
motion.
issue
My
that you
formal
hope we
motion,
would attend to it?
yes, if you can get to it right now, can we approve the committee to do a survey?
No, we couldn't really approve a committee to do a survey right now because the substantive motion would have to be dealt with at the subsequent meeting. So what I suggest is that you go ahead and draft a motion in writing and send it to us, send it to the secretary and to me, and then we can take that up.
Yeah, I will ask my sister. I will ask my
Also-
sister.
Great. Ask your sister. And also, meantime, we'll continue to try and convene the food security work group that could help to address this. How does that sound?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Shilakshi. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We're a little bit past the 9 o'clock hour, but I'll just take a moment to ask if there are any announcements that people would like to make of concern to our community. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Doug, motion to adjourn, is there a second? Julie, all those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? $17 in favor, none opposed. Motion to adjourn passes. We're finished. And all for your patience and participation tonight. Thanks for your help. Would you be willing to help Jen with that on an ongoing basis? I really have not. Yeah, it's a good time.
I was nervous.
JC,
Yes.
in the room, who was the first on the motion?
Can we just text me where you want to meet?
I'm not sure. Did you guys catch who seconded that motion first? To adjourn, right? Yeah, it was Joy.
Yeah, that's right.
Who was the second?
Julie.
Who was
Brown.
the first? Julie was the second, right? Who was the?
Doug moved it, and Julie Brown seconded it.
Sorry, once more, who moved it?
Thank you, Julie. Nice seeing you.
Who moved it?
Thank you. Doug moved it, Doug Ostrom moved it, and
Doug,
Julie Brown.
okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Hi. JC, what's your name? Thank you so much for being here.